Welcome to the Advertising Forum. This is episode 3 of our new series, The New Rules of Streaming, sponsored by Philo.
Today we have Jason Fairchild, co-founder and CEO from tvScientific, to chat about the new rules of streaming. Jason, welcome to the Advertising Forum.
Hey, great to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Same here. Jason, I've heard great things about what you're doing at tvScientific. I've interacted with you in the past. We're focusing a lot on performance marketers, so I want to start the conversation focused on that. How have they had to adapt to a new playbook now that much of the audience has shifted away from other mediums and more towards the streaming world? And what does that success look like in the space? And how are these strategies for these marketers changing?
Yeah, so we started this company to service the search and social marketers to take, to enable them to buy and measure TV in the same way they buy and measure search and social, ROI, cost per install, ROAS, et cetera. So for these, they're not necessarily leaving search and social. I think there's an interesting dynamic where most of them, not all, but most, and certainly the most of them that we're going after, if they can hit their target KPI, ROAS, they will extend their budgets almost in an evergreen way. I mean, there are some exceptions. If there's supply line shortages or whatever, then that won't be the case. But in general, many of them are going to extend into new channels so long as they can hit their ROI. So for us, the dynamic is, okay, how do you communicate ROI to them, especially in a world where everything that they've been taught on search and social is anchored in a paid click? Because it's a paid click. How long did the visit last? Did they purchase? What's the ROI and the cost of that click? Obviously, in TV, there is no click. So, because you can't click on a TV, at least not yet, for most of us anyway. So the challenge in the learning, just like we had to learn something new in paid search and then again in social, the learning on streaming is helping marketers understand the impact of TV on driving that last click and the subsequent conversion. And that's just a new science. And I wouldn't even call last click attribution a science. It's more like first grade. And this is making people finally, wake up to the fact that, all credit shouldn't go to Google for last click. And the way you do that is through attribution analytics in a radically transparent way that shows path to purchase, for example, or halo, the impact on other channels, for cohorts of users that have been previously exposed to TV ad or not just one ad, but maybe 5, and what the impact is. And then all the way to the gold standard, which is incrementality testing, showing a marketer with 99.9% data science certainty that what the incremental impact of TV is on their campaigns. So that is a learning process. And it starts with people accepting the fact that last click is not true north. And that's a really healthy thing for the overall marketing economy, by the way, because I think it's been such a bad true north for so long that we need to evolve from it anyway.
It's, television in itself is such a powerful branding medium for brands, and it creates so much awareness for them. Have you seen, or do you have any examples of how brands have blended performance along with their brand strategy, specifically in connected television? And what does that look like?
Yeah, we have we didn't start off going after these customers, but a lot of performance customers also have brand budgets. So we get into these dialogues, and our approach is we have pretty deep technology that optimizes to advertiser declared outcomes. And those outcomes can be purchases, or they could be brand lift, for example. So if a marketer wants to blend the two, and we kind of know what the lower funnel KPIs are, but if they want to introduce a third party on brand lift measurement, or we can do it ourselves, or bring in a third party, we can combine the two to show brand lift at top of funnel and bottom of funnel KPIs and how they work in concert together.
So with that said, then what metrics or signals are you finding most valuable for your partners? And when you have all different forms of advertisers that legacy, as you said, were performance and now brand and now everywhere in between, help us understand the signals that are most valuable to those specific advertisers that are spending across your platform.
It's kind of a selection bias in that the majority of our advertisers are very, very performance KPI driven. So for them, it's going to be ROAS or cost per install or lifetime value. There's probably a couple others in there. Brand lift is increasingly a part of the equation. And I expect over time, by the way, so the way I think about the universe is like the top 500 or so brands that drove legacy TV or linear TV historically. They're like mega brands that use agencies. They care about reach and frequency and brand lift type KPIs. Then there's all the performance advertisers, and there's 9 million of them. And even if you only consider 10% of those as the market we're going after, it's still a big number. So that's where our focus is. But I do believe that, the Delta Airlines of the world they're going to catch on to the fact that reach and frequency serves a purpose, but why not anchor your marketing budget in cost per seat sold? Or if you're State Farm, in cost per policy sold, and have both, because it really is a marketing science at that point, instead of kind of an artsy-fartsy, get the big celebrity to do the endorsement and hope for the best.
What different signals do you think we should give the boot to at this point? When you think through just the impact that and the growth of so many different of the 9 million performance advertisers out there, and you think through the legacy component of how we talked about reach and frequency and just the top 100 marketers, the Fortune 100, the Fortune 500, what metrics do you think don't necessarily matter anymore? You've been building in this industry for longer than most, and you've seen a lot of success. What do you think is bullshit out there?
I pick on reach and frequency, but the truth is that that frequency is a key driver of actual performance. So I don't want to give the boot to reach and frequency, especially if you can, on the frequency side, tie it to conversions. Now, obviously, if you want more conversions, you want more reach at that target frequency against the performant audience. I think the thing that's new is this idea when you talk to marketers that they know who their audience is, and for the most part, they have a pretty good idea. But they want to go reach who they think their audience is, and that's fine as a component. But the scientific method is based on a self-learning system, meaning you have a hypothesis around who your audience is, and you should certainly go test it, but also test a bunch of other stuff and then follow the data. We've had now defunct D2C sock company in the early days of our of the company, and they came to us and we started running performance marketing for them, and we were doing the post-campaign review, and we were excited because they gave us their audience profile, and then one of the pockets of performance that was off the charts, like self-evidently, clearly a high-performing audience for them, was one of the Hispanic channels, and we were excited to communicate to the sock company that we found a new strain of customers, and their reaction was, that's interesting, but that's not who our target customer is. Like, well, in that case, they're not following the data, and it could have been a whole different, outcome for that company if they would have had a hypothesis, test it, but also test others and then follow the data. So I wouldn't want to kill any KPI per se. It's more of a philosophy of follow the data and then just get over last click, because it's just toxic. It really is. Ford Motor Company spends, 100 million plus, maybe it's 150 million to advertise a Ford F-150 pickup truck, for example. And when someone types in Ford F-150, Google takes all the credit for that lead, and that's just obviously wrong. So marketing is a science. There's more complexity to it than last click attribution, which is really a third grade kind of thing, first grade maybe. So I encourage people to just be curious and learn, because there's lots of great stuff to adopt to be more effective.
Let's hit on that for a second, Jason. So why is streaming such a rich environment for testing, learning, optimizing?
Yeah, TV has not historically been a rich environment because of the lack of data, but as streaming has taken off, and it's basically it's built on top of programmatic infrastructure on the internet with a lot of programmatic pipes, and lots of data available that's never been available before, including, so now you can, for example, stitch together deterministically ad exposure. So what household has seen a Ford F-150 ad or a Domino's ad, and then you can work with the marketer to measure outcomes in the same way a marketer would work with Google or Facebook. And once you can connect those dots deterministically, then you can apply I would call it relative to last click sophisticated, but it's really not that advanced. Attribution analytics to understand how much TV is driving that impact versus giving it all to Google. And incrementality is the gold standard there. It's not that hard to do. It's actually pretty simple. We have, for example, it's built into the platform, or we have data science as a service that can help structure those tests. But, a couple of chat GPT searches and you're good to go. You can figure it out.
Right. So how are you thinking about attribution in a multi-device, multi-touch world?
Well, the first thing is just acknowledging that in TV, for example, like people talk about, shoppable TV, and then you're going to get your remote out and you're going to try to point and click at it. That war's over. Here's what people do. They watch TV. 95% of them have this in their hand while they're watching TV. And if you don't believe me, just look at your living room and your family in your living room. And they see something they're interested in, and they're going to ADD it. They're going to, while they're watching TV, likely just type in the website of whatever it is they saw that they're interested in, either then or a few minutes later. That is the behavior. It's baked in. So it is a multi-device dynamic natively, really. So not acknowledging that, then how do you measure when someone sees a Domino's pizza ad, for example, and orders a Domino's pizza? How do you marry those two things? And that programmatic advertising and all the infrastructure that we've been building for the last 20-something years can be leveraged to do that deterministically. So it's doable.
Jason, it's doable. It is doable. Jason, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on the New Rules of Streaming series sponsored by Philo. We really appreciate what you're doing at tvSci. We appreciate our partners at Philo, and thank you for dropping so many knowledge nuggets today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.